Hello, I'm back, and this video is an I told you so video. In order to get in on this, in this video, I will be going over an article, put on a very well thought out, well sourced article, put on playeressence.com that vindicates everything that I've been saying about Sony for months now. In this video, I'll be covering why the media is full of shit in regards to Sony, why Sony is failing, and why, I'm going to say it now, a lot of the top people at Sony, including the CEO, the heads of various departments, need to be fired. Sony needs dramatic intervention. And this all starts after the cut. Okay then, let's get down to this article. Now, this article was posted by Anti on playeressence.com. He's a new worker on the website. Player Essence, a great place. I would advise anyone and everyone to go there to get your gaming news and such. Now, as you know, I've been telling everyone that Sony has been fucking up for over a decade now, because it's 2014. So let's get down to it, okay? The title of this article is The Uphill Challenges for Sony and Their Inspiration. It's no secret the recent years have been extremely harsh financially for Sony, especially with their reported net loss of $1.25 billion for the fiscal year of 2013. Even the restructuring efforts from Sony's president and CEO Kaz Hirai has already tarnished his credibility with investors, and their expected net loss forecast of $484 million for 2014 is already looming on the horizon for the ailing company. Hirai hopes his True Hirai team will curb the loss and confidence from Sony's investors, with the recent additions of Chief Financial Officer Kenichiro Yoshida and Senior Vice President Hiroki Totoki. The trio has also decided to draw inspiration for their structural reforms from Philips, after the struggling Dutch company managed to turn their business around and show a net profit of $1.64 billion for the fiscal year through December, although at the cost of cutting their workforce down by half in 2013. Former U.S. Ambassador John Roos was also appointed to the executive board this month in order to provide some much-needed insight to improve the business. There's a handy-dandy graph here which shows it pretty simply, which I will post in the video. As you can see, this pretty much shows that Sony hasn't been doing too well. For 10 fiscal years, 11 real-world years. Okay, so here we go. While sales from the electronics business have plunged to half of the level 6 years earlier, Kenichiro Yoshida said sales costs have not fallen sufficiently and headquarters costs have increased. Structural reforms have been delayed. These are some of the difficult hurdles the True Hirai team will have to overcome this year as Sony's losses continue to mount. More job cuts have already been announced, along with a payroll trim as part of their continuing effort of restructuring the company. There's another picture here, which I will also show a picture of in this video. And if the trio truly decides to follow through with the initiatives taken by Philips, it certainly won't bode well for the company's staff. Philips eliminated the electronics portion from their name, and as mentioned, cut their entire workforce by half in order to return to profitability. The company now focused their efforts on their medical equipment business. This decision to emulate Philips may be a huge concern to Sony's remaining staff members worldwide, which has already experienced a significant loss in their workforce. While the continuing decline of Sony's TV business, continuing decline of Sony's TV business, Hirai had to make his third vow of returning to profitability. While targeting an operating profit of $3.92 billion by the end of March 2016, on July 1st, the company will start a new TV company named Sony Visual Productions Incorporated in order to fulfill the vow by executing a fixed cost reduction measures across the sales company's headquarters and indirect functions that support the TV business in order to help establish a business structure capable of minimizing the impact of external market fluctuations. Unfortunately, the third vow has been met with a lot of skepticism from investors and analysts. It's not all negative news for the company, though. Sony claims the PlayStation 4 has achieved a cumulative sell-through of 7 million units as of April 6, 2014, and it's already contributing profit on a hardware unit basis. Although they haven't divulged exact sales numbers of the console in their recent investors' relations report, the PlayStation 4 was estimated to cost $381 per console to build. The profit margin is relatively small, but better than the significant loss experienced during the early years of the PS3. In Sony's recent corporate strategy meeting, the company announced over 52 million have registered on the PlayStation Network, Sony Entertainment Network, and approximately half of the PS4 owners are subscribing to the PS Plus service. With the beta launch of the PlayStation Now game streaming service, the company is expecting continued sales growth in this business going forward. Other initiatives will include their mobile, imaging, business, entertainment, and financials as detailed in their corporate strategy meeting document. Hopefully, all of these restructuring efforts will prove fruitful for the company and they can return back to profitability. The sources are the Asia Nikkei, Bloomberg, The Escapist, and Sony Global. Okay then, whew! Now that we've gotten that out the way, I'll get into what this means in 3 distinct sections after the cut. Okay then, let's get into the first part, which is Sony's been fucked for a while. Okay, now as you can see in this chart right here, as you can see, Sony's timeline is just a mess. It started in 2003 and it's continued all the way up to 2014. So that is 10 fiscal years, 11 real years. Sony is not doing too well, and people need to recognize this. And we'll get back to what we're talking about right about now. As you can see in the aforementioned chart, shown chart, Sony has been not doing very well for quite some time, okay? 10 fiscal years, 11 actual years, okay? And it ain't looking better next year. And I know they're saying, oh, it's only 400. Look, listen, okay? Sony has lost so much money over the last few years that they're in can't afford to fuck up territory, okay? I've said this before, but this chart should really illustrate that it's not, you can't afford to fuck up, and you can't afford to fuck up. They can't afford to fuck up, okay? They can't afford to have anything fall down and just fail miserably. They can't afford it. And yet, you'll find numerous people, you know, the media and numerous people telling you, oh, Sony's fine. Sony ain't fine. No, Sony ain't fine. Sony ain't fine. And if they're trying to emulate Philips, they're really not fine, because Philips hasn't done shit as of late. And firing your workers, firing half of your workforce and getting rid of parts of your business increases your profitability, but in the short term. But long term, you're skating on a banana peel and an ice skate. But you know, what do I know? I just own a business. We'll get into the media's response and the media's response after the cut. this is the media. Basically, the media has not mentioned a thing about Sony's faults or failures or staggering losses over the last 10 years. You might hear a blip here, a little bit there, but no one's like, oh, Sony is in deep shit. I mean, I understand Sony is a name synonymous with electronics, and but let's be frank, Sony hasn't been cutting edge since the Walkman. Okay? Blu-ray is an expensive alternative that wasn't really necessary. I mean, Blu-ray is just now getting affordable. When Blu-ray first came out, the discs were $50 to $60 for shitty movies. Not even good ones. Shitty ones, $50 or $60. Now it's getting down to $15, $20. But Blu-ray should have been out, but it should have been shouldn't have even come out till now anyway. And aside from that, HD high density discs that people use that got superseded by Blu-ray, streaming renders all of that shit a moot point, because if you have Netflix, you have access to the equivalent of thousands, hundreds of thousands of DVDs and CDs. So why in the world would you spend $20-$30 on a Blu-ray? But media has told us that Sony would be fine. We've had numerous media business leaders tell us that Kaz Hirai is great and Sony is going to be fine. Look, I've seen numerous companies that are doing the same thing Sony is doing, with a lot of the accounting reporting malfeasance that they did. And eventually they had to declare bankruptcy. I'm talking about companies like Tyco, Enron, Gulf, Blockbuster, Sears, Kmart, Bendix, Woody's. All these companies declared bankruptcy. So, you know, Sony is not in the best of shape. They haven't been in the best of shape for a long time. Over a decade in fiscal years, and over 11 years if you actually count real years, because this shit allegedly started in 2003. But knowing Sony, here's how Sony operates. If something says if they say something happened last year, it was probably in the works and going on a year or two before then. So you have to add 2 or 3 years to that shit, because they like hiding things in different numbers, which is why we still don't know how many Vitas were sold. We still don't know how many PS4s were sold. We have a guesstimation, but we don't know how many were actually sold. And why I personally don't trust anything Sony says when it comes to sales numbers, because they can't be trusted. Which leads me to the final nail in this coffin: Sony's fans. After the cut. The fans. Sony's fans. Oh god. These people are batshit fucking crazy. I mean, I hate to say this, but let me put it this way. Sony's fans are like... I'm going to tell you an old dirty joke, okay? The monkey and the lion were hanging out in the jungle. And the lion said, look, I am the king of the jungle. When I roar, all the other animals go running. He roared, and all the other animals except for the monkey went running away. And the monkey said, wow, that's a pretty neat power. But I can control the weather. And the lion's like, what are you talking about? He's like, look, I'm going to go up in this tree and I'm going to make it rain. And the lion's like, oh, well, I got to see this. So the monkey went up in the tree and he starts peeing and peeing and peeing. And the lion was like, it's raining! The monkey can make it rain! The monkey stops peeing, comes back down, and says, look, I controlled the weather. I made it rain. And the lion's like, yes, you did. You made it rain. You control the weather. Moral of the story is, just because you sense something to be a certain way doesn't necessarily mean it is. In this case, Sony is the monkey. Sony fans are the lion. Sony fans think that if Sony's peeing on them, it's raining. And therefore it must be rain, when actually they're getting pissed on. So these people believe that Sony will be fine, that nothing is wrong. Sony is firing, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 people in broad swaths, but Sony's gonna be fine. Yeah, that's believable. I'll be covering Sony's options. I'm just gonna put Sony's options down in 3 very plain terms, okay? 3, okay? Sony can declare bankruptcy, get rid of all of its debt, take a huge hit in its credit rating, which its credit rating's already kind of going down anyway, and build itself back up. But a lot of people are going to get fired. Sony can consolidate its businesses and either spin off the profitable ones, combining ones that aren't so profitable by themselves, and hope for the best, or the third one, and this is going to be the hard one, they can start selling off bits and pieces of themselves to more successful businesses, take the money, pay off their debts, and focus on one, maybe 2, maybe even 3 branches that they can maintain themselves. Newsflash, I don't see the PlayStation 4 contributing all that much to Sony's profitability, because the thing is this: even if the PS4 does phenomenally, it only accounts for 10 to 12% of Sony's total profitability scale, okay? So basically, it's kind of like you're trying to dig yourself out of a hole with only this much of your hand available to you to use. The rest of you is under the ground. It's very hard to get out of a hole when you can only use your forearm and part of your hand. Okay? Simple as that. And Sony has made some boneheaded moves with their PlayStation division that kind of shoots them in the ass when it comes to making it even more profitable. They've lost and fired developers. Now here's the thing. The top selling game on the PS4 is Call of Duty, which means third parties are the ones who are making money, which means people are buying a PS4. Let's say Sony's making a profit of $2 or $3, okay? They're buying a PS4, Sony's making $2 or $3 per console for a third-party game, which that's $60 that ain't going to Sony. That's $60 going into Activision. Okay? If Sony had quality first-party games, and I know what some of you Sony fans are going to say, Sony has great first-party games. You might enjoy them, but sales say otherwise. Okay? Not to mention that Sony doesn't really support their first-party games anyway, so it's kind of a moot point anyway. But that leads me to my conclusion after the cut. Okay then. The conclusion. Basically, the conclusion is very simple. Sony has many options on the table. None of them are really that good. They're either going to have to fire a whole fuck ton of people because they don't have the funds to float any more failing divisions. And people are tired of lending the money. And that's all I can think of. Either way they go, they're going to have to fire a lot of people, and they might not make it out anyway. I personally think a lot of the executive people who made this business decisions, who did this, need to have their asses fired. the people who got bonuses during all these years where the market shares of Sony were going downhill and people were losing their money, and the company was losing market share. And the cost of making their products was going up, and the amount of money they were making was going down, and they were going in debt, floating other divisions by taking the money from more profitable divisions to hide the losses of others. Those fuckers need to be fired. And I mean ultra fired. I mean like thrown into Mount Vesuvius fired. But, I mean, hey, you know, because we aren't talking about 2 or 3 years of losses. We aren't talking about, you know, the company is growing. We're talking about people. We're talking about someone running a company into the ground. So, that's my conclusion. Sony is just, they're in deep shit. And I mean, a lot of people are going to get fired. And that's all I can say right now. Thank you and have a good day. The link to this awesome article is in the description field, and don't hesitate to leave a comment or just a question or anything like that. But remember, trolling comments, calling people names, that type of thing, you'll be banned and reported. So thank you. Have a good day.